What if the Republicans and Democrats are now the same party? Sure, we hear the rhetoric from both sides, but are they just playing to the base? Or are they both vying for control and power over citizens? Republicans' main belief used to be small government, where the people have more control as to where their money is spent, and allows the people to help and support each other. Democrats believe in large government, where the people do not have a say to where their money goes, and they believe government needs to help and support the people. But now it seems both parties are advocates for big government. We already showed the video of how political correctness came from socialism trying to overthrow the Communist Party, and how it first came to America. Now let's discuss the progressive movement and how it has sunk its elitist claws into our political parties. On the surface, the progressive ideologies sound great. Starting in 1890, the main objective was eliminating corruption in government. While this is something that we need today, the problem is, at what cost? Let me give you an example. Prohibition was passed in order to destroy the power of local political bosses based in saloons. It had nothing to do with individuals having a few drinks. Still called the noble experiment by many, created criminals out of millions of people and thousands of deaths. This will eventually lead to our current day jail system in later videos. Progressives may look to have the best of intentions, but their constant manipulation of the people to fit their agenda often comes with horrific consequences. Although the Progressive Party movement died in the late 1920s, the ideas were instilled in many politicians. But it wasn't until 1948 that the Progressive Party came back into play with former Vice President Henry A. Wallace running for president. This was near the end of the House of Un-American Activities Committee, and the Progressive Party became a safe haven for self-proclaimed communists. With the link of the progressives to the communists, let's take a look at some goals of this movement according to Honorable A. S. Erlong, Florida State Representative, on January 10, 1963. He, with two others, wanted to alert the public. Here are a few of the 45 goals communists and progressives have for the United States. See if any of these sound familiar. Develop the illusion that total disarmament would be a demonstration of moral strength. Permit free trade between all nations, regardless of communist affiliation, and regardless of whether or not items could be used for war. Promote the UN as the only hope for mankind, and demand that it be set up as a one-world government. Do away with loyalty oaths. Capture one or both political parties in the United States. Use technical decisions of the courts to weaken basic American institutions by claiming their activities violate civil rights. Get control of schools. Use them as transmission belts for socialism and current communist propaganda. Get control of teachers' associations. Put the party line in textbooks. Gain control of all student newspapers. Use student riots to foment public protests against programs or organizations which are under communist attack. Infiltrate the press. Gain control of key positions in radio, TV, and motion pictures. Continue discrediting American culture. Eliminate all laws governing obscenity by calling them censorship and violation of free speech and free press. Discredit the Bible and emphasize the need for intellectual maturity. Eliminate prayer or any phase of religious expression in the schools on the grounds that it violates the principles of separation of church and state. Discredit the American Constitution by calling it inadequate, old-fashioned, out of step with modern needs, and a hindrance to cooperation between nations on a worldwide basis. Discredit the American Founding Fathers. Belittle all forms of American culture and discourage the teachings of American history on the grounds that it was only a minor part to the big picture. Infiltrate and gain control of unions and big business. Dominate the psychiatric profession and use mental health laws as means of gaining coercive control. Discredit family as an institution. Encourage promiscuity and easy divorce. Emphasize the need to raise children away from the negative influence of parents. And finally, create the impression that violence and insurrection are legitimate aspects of the American tradition. I will add a link to this document below, but has the progressive ideologies really infiltrated both parties? Let's listen to Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who holds the chair of the Democratic National Committee, explain the difference between socialists and Democrats.
What's the difference between a Democrat and a socialist? I used to think there was a big difference. What do you think it is?
The difference between...
a Democrat like Hillary Clinton and a socialist like Bernie Sanders?
What's the difference between being a Democrat and being a Republican?
Well, what's the big difference between a Democrat and a socialist? You're the chairman of the Democratic Party. Tell me the difference between you and a socialist.
The relevant debate that we'll be having over the course of this campaign is what's the difference between a Democrat and a Republican?
Let's also not forget that Bernie Sanders, who is running on a Democratic ticket for president in 2016, labels himself as a socialist.
You call yourself a democratic socialist. How can any kind of socialist win a general election in the United States?
Well, we're going to win because first we're going to explain what democratic socialism is.
What about Mrs. Clinton? Is she a progressive?
Just for the record, are you a progressive or are you a moderate?
I'm a progressive, but I'm a progressive who likes to get things done.
But that is the Democrat Party. They have always been on the left. Surely, it's not in the Republican Party.
Is FDR. FDR is the greatest practitioner of self-government, certainly in the 20th century, and maybe in American history. And FDR, as governor of New York in good times, was very progressive.
I think the old, standby definitions of who votes for which party have been blown away in this campaign. I think people recognize that I'm not a partisan Republican, that I'm someone who is moderate, and that my views are progressive.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
The media has been infiltrated. The schools have been infiltrated. Your television programs, scientists, politicians. Our very government has been infiltrated by people trying to change our great nation into a world government. This is why the people are backing candidates such as Dr. Carson, who was never in politics, Ted Cruz, because he stands for the Constitution, and Donald Trump, who shows us every day the dangers of media and political correctness. We do not back any candidate, but we would love to see someone in office that stands for what the majority of us still believe in, the U.S. Constitution. Let us not be fooled by the progressive communistic movement that is in both parties. This is complete manipulation of the people. Socialism and communism on the surface sounds like a great idea. The problem is that it gives far too much power to a few individuals, who throughout all of history have turned on the people. Stand up for your freedom. Let Washington know we will take no more. Make sure to vote, but vote armed with information. As always, thanks for watching and please subscribe. Also, make sure you take a look at our other videos that we have done.